What's up, guys and gals? It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys Record of Ragnarok, also known as Shimatsu no Valkyrie, episode 13 of season 2, the strongest puberty in history. From the second part of season 2, don't ask me why they did it anymore. That being said, alright, so I like the episode for the sole reason that they're basically speed blitzing through the fight. Or speed blitzing through a really bad backstory. Yeah, because at the end of the day, they basically tell it like it is through the manga adaptation, right? Of how Buddha became Buddha and blah, blah, blah. They go through it pretty quickly, and then they go back to the fight, and then, you know, Zero becomes Zero again, and blah, blah, blah. And then, no, he's not Zero anymore by the end of it. So, what I like about this, well, is that they don't shy away from the fact that, once again, Buddha's backstory is the worst thing about his character. Outside of that, Buddha's a great damn character. He's fun-loving, he's twisty and turny. You don't really know where he's gonna go, and I do definitely love Buddha. But his backstory sucks. The reason it sucks is because he reaches Nirvana because his friend died. He was going to a funeral. He had everything in the world. Everything was good. And he reached Nirvana and got his superpowers, what have you, and all that stuff. But he reached enlightenment because he was going to a funeral, and some dude said that the dead king must have been a happy guy. Oh, but he wasn't happy. He wasn't truly happy. Enlightenment. It was stupid in the manga, and it's stupid here. Okay? So when everybody complains that Zero's backstory makes no goddamn sense, I point to the guy he's fighting and go, Buddha's great now that he's reached Nirvana, but the way he got Nirvana, Jack should have gotten Nirvana. Heracles should have reached Nirvana. Almost every character's backstory should have had Nirvana. Like, every human's backstory reached Nirvana by this logic, okay? So, Buddha's backstory is not good. It's not good. Yeah, he saved people afterwards and blah, 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 and he did right by his friend by sending him down the river. Okay, copy Aragorn with Boromir, do whatever you want. And then, at the end of it all, he also, it's like, it sounds selfless. He left the throne and his kingdom. But you missed the big part. He left his wife and children. Now, I don't know how India operates, especially back then. But you have a disgraced prince who runs away from his duties, who has a wife, probably multiple, but they're saying just one wife, and children, plural. Now, I'm gonna just take a leap of faith here and say we're not in 2023, back when this all took place, in India, by the way. So, the disgraced prince's wife and children are definitely okay, right? There's no repercussions. At best, the children grow up without a father, and the wife grows old without a husband. Nowadays, we want to skin people alive for that shit in 2023 alone, based on that alone. And now, we're going backwards in time to more ancient ways of what's right and wrong. And then we also double down on the fact that it's not the Western idea of right and wrong, it's India. Yeah, so Buddha abandoned his wife and children and they all were murdered. They got executed. 100%. Some limbs were chopped off, something happened. They did not live a happy life. They were abandoned in the streets and they curse his name every day of the week. Okay? Straight up. No way they had a good life after Buddha abandoned them, okay? So, Buddha is a bad husband, terrible father, and yeah. The backstory does not paint Buddha well if you actually look at it, because he does all this shit. He reaches nirvana for no good reason. By that logic, when I go to a funeral and I'm pissed off, apparently I'm allowed to fucking reach nirvana. It doesn't work that way. So, how he reached nirvana was bullshit, and then the whole leaving his wife and children in ancient India is definitely terrible. Terrible, being a terrible husband and father. So, Buddha's not a great guy in this instance. Now, once we get past the backstory, however, then we go into Buddha actually, and here's where I start to really like Buddha, because in Zero's backstory, Buddha sucks. In Buddha's backstory, Buddha sucks. Current Buddha, however, now granted, I will argue a point that we never actually see a transition. We're supposed to accept that Buddha's a good person in Zero's backstory and in his own backstory. He is not. He is not. But taking present day, because we don't see any character development, because the character development was supposed to already be there, but he's a bad person. Now he's supposedly a good person, what have you. But the fact of the matter is that Buddha actually attempts and tries here in this fight with Zerofuku in the later half of the episode, outside of when he really screwed up in Zero's backstory, in my opinion. He screwed up in Zero's backstory. But here he actively is trying to help Zero the way he should have back then. And he also, when Zero, and it's done really fast paced, and I don't mind that, but this is where I think the fight should have ended. And even though it's very cheesy, especially in English, and because it was rushed and the lines were translated and stuff, it's not as powerful. Just randomly Zero looks up and then it's like da 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 Buddha shining God da 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 da. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, randomly Zero's pissed off and then he looks at Buddha and it's like, hi, how you doing? Or even better, it's a, how you doing? You know what I mean? It's literally Joey Tribbiani basically doing that with some music in the background is what stopped Zero from going apeshit. It's done so cheesy in this episode. I kind of like it because it's so bad. It's actually done pretty piss poor. It doesn't translate any of it. They really should have worked harder on this, but either way, it was done so cheesy. The music, the fanfare, it was funny enough to me that I was like, alright, they're not even taking this round seriously. Because this is where the fight should have ended. And when Zero transforms back to his Zerofuku trans back into Zero, and he's just like, and they do the slugfest idea. Zeus is happy about this, and they're punching each other out. And then in the end, and of course he's not using his future sight, so Zero's getting some slugs in on him and stuff like that. The lines might not translate well, but at the end of the day, the idea is that Buddha actually likes Zero, respects Zero, and thinks Zero's a good guy and just got dealt a shitty hand. And hey, get up, start loving yourself, and I'll help you. I'll be your friend, and we'll try again. We'll do this. You know what I mean? Because they make it seem way more so in the anime. They make it seem like Zero's just this teenager acting out, or this, you know, like going through puberty, hence the title episode and stuff like that. And it's all resolved by having this father figure or a friend and stuff like that. It's like, no, humanity is what happened to Zero, okay? Humanity was at fault. And humanity, once again, was the fault of why it was Zero, Buddha, Zero. Zero was only jealous of Buddha because Buddha helped humans and got praised for it, and Zero literally did the same thing and got nothing for it. It was a not equivalent exchange, and he was pissed off, with every right to be. So, which I discussed at length last episode. So, they skim over all these details. I don't really like the portrayal here because they're fast pacing it, because they need to get, like, hurry up and finish the round. Now we only have 2 episodes to do. Hajun finish the fight, by the way, in 2 episodes, which took chapters and chapters. We finished the fight. in 2 episodes, plus get set up for the rest of the next season and stuff like. So they sort of cut themselves short a little bit by only doing 15 episodes. Realistically, with the 16th episode, this one would have bordered into the next one, but is what it is. They also shortened Buddha's backstory. They really like, all right, key points, boom, gone. So, yeah, in my opinion, the episode was probably the worst so far of the new part, like 11, 12, 13 so far. It was probably the most fast-paced to a bad degree. It was the most cheesy. It was a little clunky. Animation was fine and stuff. And this is a key point that I do like about this fight, because Buddha basically acknowledges Zero, which he should have done once again back in the backstory, but he acknowledges Zero. That's all it takes, is for one person of standing to say, Zero, you did nothing, you're okay, you did nothing wrong, and I don't hate you, I like you, and stuff like that. That's all it took, was to turn Zero's whole life around. You know, they always talk about that with a bunch of rich billionaires and stuff, like what made you a billionaire? He goes, one guy when I was in 9th grade said this, with this one teacher said this one thing to me, changed my whole outlook on life. That's literally what happened. So many people have that story, and this is what happened right here in round 6. Instant transformation, of course, but it's supernatural. It is what it is. And I really like that about this. But this episode didn't really harper down on this. It just seemed like Zero's this bratty teenager acting out like life is unfair. He's acting like an emo. It's not really how he was portrayed in the manga. Maybe people took that away from the manga, but that's not why he's doing what he's doing, why everything is the way it is. You know, there's deeper meanings, way deeper meanings than some bratty emo teenager acting like his dad didn't put a roof over his head, his mom doesn't cook his supper, and he's just like, I'm so goth, man. My parents, they don't understand why I'm into toking. You know what I mean? Like some bratty emo fucking loser at 15 years old who doesn't know his ass from his fucking head. You know, no. That's not Zero. People compare that to Zero, but that's not Zero. So Zero's way more complex than all those shitty-ass goth wannabe teenagers. So either way, the episode ends with Hajun being born, which is really cool. And I do like, once again, I want it. One last point is that when, or well, actually I have 2 points. When Zero is being trapped by the dragons come out of him, the horns drill into his head, the dragons come out and they're starting to try to like cocoon Zero. Zero screams for Buddha, Buddha, help me! Zero! You know, and he's trying. Buddha instantly tries to actually physically go help Zero. Doesn't just stand back, oh my god, what is happening? When he screams for him and tries to reach for him, Buddha tries to get to Zero. And I would have been interested if what would have happened if Buddha had been able to get to him, you know? Could he have stopped the transformation? That might have been nice. Either way, that happens, and once again, a core reason to hate a certain character, to despise a certain character beyond his really shitty character. Over 100 pages of backstory, still worse backstory than Zero's. And yeah, it's a good reason to hate a certain character because of round 6 here. Then at the end of it, June is born. Buddha can't see his future and stuff, which is just done because they wanted. We can't have a mid-diff fight anymore since round 1. Once again, round 1 stock's just going up with round 6 here, because round 6 could have ended with a low-diff fight, and it would have been fine. It would have been different, but of course we can't have that, so now we gotta ruin Zero's character, ruin the relationship between Zero and Buddha potential, and create Hajun. So this is why round 6 sucks right here. This was the fault of round 6, making Hajun a thing. And then, which by the way, now that round 8 is over, which no spoilers, but now that round 8 is over, why? Why? Oh, why? Anyways, fact of the matter is, the character who causes Hajun, literally, there is no reason to, because now we know the equivalent of everything that happens in round 8. There's literally no reason to do this whatsoever. So, yeah, that character is even more of a dick, and way at the bottom of my list. But yeah, and then the end part is, of course, the what the fuck from Brunhilde in English was awful. It was terrible, and they really should have tried harder. They should have. That was not the take you use. You use a different take. So yeah, this is the weakest episode. There was multiple issues of sound quality and just not so much visuals, but just the pacing was off. The cheesy dialogue, the random, the pacing was the worst part. But then the clunky dialogue and stuff. So yeah, I didn't. There was a lot about this episode to complain about for sure. But anyways, that's my spiel on it, guys. That's episode 13. We have 2 more episodes to get through. I think the next one will be a quick review, probably the quickest one, because it'll just be Hajun versus Buddha, which I don't give a shit about because this never should have happened. Narrative, story, and plot-wise, this is a stupid fucking idea, and it's what made round 6 in my bottoms as far as like tiering the rounds. It's so bad, it's so stupid, it shouldn't have happened, but it did. So anyways, we're into this one. Let's get going. Like, comment, and subscribe. That's it for episode 13. We'll see when I get to episode 14, guys, because I am not looking forward to this episode because I can't stand what they did here. They ruined round 6 with this one thing, and it went nowhere. It went nowhere, so it was even worse than what we thought. That's it for me. Like, comment, subscribe, sign out, everybody. Have a good one. See you back here for episode 14.